I'm pregnant with the villain's child. He married me only to protect the heroine, and yet he subjected me to cruel torment. I gave birth to the child and ran away. Years later, I'm at a bar trying to pick up a handsome guy. The place suddenly gets raided, and everyone inside is blocked from leaving. The aloof, dangerous man gives a cold smile and pats the child beside him on the head. Go on, call her mommy. The bar was having a promotion that night, so it was crowded. When I walked in, everyone called out, Boss lady! At the counter sat a man in a white shirt. He looked kinda lost. I went over and made the first move. Picking up troubled pretty boys is kinda my thing. I bought him a drink. He looked at me and shyly looked away. We chatted a bit. He got flustered easily. His ears turned red before we'd even said much. He said he just graduated, and work wasn't going well. Perfect. My bar was exactly short of good-looking waiters. How about I find you a job, sweetie? I promise you'll make more than you do now. My bar had plenty of rich, older women. Tips were never a problem. The man looked at me, surprised. Just as I was about to add him on WhatsApp, a commotion broke out at the entrance. Before I could react, a fleet of black cars surrounded the place. Bodyguards in suits blocked the doors. I realized my bar was being raided. When I saw the license plate of the lead car, my blood ran cold for a second. I quickly hit the panic button, then turned and ran for the back door. The back alley door was already open. A familiar figure leaned against his car, flipping an old metal lighter. Scarlett, you've run so many times and you still haven't learned a thing. Damien lifted his eyes slowly. A faint smile touched his lips, but it was chilling. I've known since high school that I was inside a book. I was the evil side character. In the future, I'd obsess over the male lead, Christian Hawthorne, and cause trouble all the time. I'd hurt the heroine, Vivian Ashford, so badly she'd never play the piano again. The villain, Damien Blackthorne, would hold a grudge. He'd marry me just to torment me. In the end, I'd end up paralyzed, living out my days in a mental hospital. A pathetic end. After I woke up to the truth, I worked hard to push the male and female leads together. Because of that, Damien grew to hate me. Through a twist of fate, I got pregnant after one night with him. Even after marrying me, Damien still wore that same cold, world-weary look. If it weren't for the baby, he probably would have already tortured me to a sorry state, just like in the book. 4 years ago. On the day I gave birth, I planned my escape. In the operating room, the moment the baby's cry rang out, it was also the sound of my freedom. I'd run for so long, I never thought Damien would still find me. Bar patrons scattered in panic. But that handsome young man stepped in front of me to shield me. Miss, are they here to cause you trouble? Don't be scared. I'll call the police. I gave a bitter smile and stopped him. It was useless. In business or politics, nobody dared to cross Damien. Damien stared at us, his gaze turning even colder. A little boy stepped out of the Maybach. His expression was eerily calm for a kid his age. Damien patted his shoulder. Go on, call her mommy. A miniature version of Damien hesitated for a few seconds, then came over to me. He didn't speak. He just quietly studied me. Was this my baby? He'd gotten so tall. In that moment, 100 emotions churned inside me, and I felt like crying. The young man beside me stared, wide-eyed. Miss, you already have a kid. She also has a husband, Damien's cold voice cut in. Under his dark stare, the man shrank back and didn't dare say another word. Damien took me away. Through the car window, he stared at all the good-looking staff in my bar. Scarlett, you've got some nerve. Won't raise your own child, but you'll run this far to raise a bunch of men? The coldness in his eyes could have frozen me solid. I swallowed hard. Damien, just let me go. I won't bother you ever again. Back in high school, I'd had no choice but to tear up a letter Damien wrote, all to stop the heroine from getting together with the male lead. Damien had held that grudge for 6 years. He shot me a glance. Begging for mercy already? It's too early for that. He loved the feeling of toying with his prey. Back then, he'd locked me in a villa and cut off all my contact with friends. I never wanted to live that caged life again. The car started moving. The scenery outside the window blurred past. Panicked, I looked at him. Damien, I'm not going back. My daughter's waiting for me at home. His eyes turned sharp. He grabbed my arm in disbelief. We're not even divorced yet, and you're already with some other man. Damien was furious. He took me back to his hillside villa in the capital and locked me inside. Our son Sebastian hadn't said a word the whole trip. When he got home, he just played quietly with his blocks, occasionally glancing my way. Soon, Damien's assistant brought Aurora over, my daughter. The moment she saw me, her eyes turned red and she ran over. "Mommy, who are these people? I'm scared." Damien looked at the little girl who had the same eyes as me. He frowned slightly. "How old is she?" 3. I lied. The truth was, 4 years ago, I'd had twins. But to make running away easier, I'd only taken one. I took my daughter, because years of news stories had taught me that a girl is safer raised by her mother. I was sent to live with my aunt and uncle as a child. I was always bullied by my older cousins. That was why I'd gotten so attached to the male lead's gentle kindness. Later, I woke up and realized I didn't actually like him. I was just longing for the warmth he'd shown me back then. Damien's eyes turned icy cold. "You've been gone barely a year, and you've already found someone new?" "Scarlett, you've got guts." Aurora huddled in my arms, too scared to even look at that cold-faced, scary uncle. She whispered softly, "Mommy, let's go. I want to find Uncle Julian." "Shh. We'll leave in a couple of days, sweetie." I tried to soothe her. The man in front of me looked so grim, his face could have dripped water. At dinner, Aurora was really scared at first, but when she realized she was sitting next to Sebastian, she started talking to him. "Hey, mister, were you brought here by that scary uncle too?" "Hey, mister, do you know where this is?" "Hey, mister, are you there? You feel really familiar, you know?" Sebastian didn't answer, but she happily kept chattering away. Aurora had always been a little chatterbox. Sebastian looked at her bright, lively eyes. After a few seconds of silence, he picked up the last shrimp on his plate and put it on hers. "Eat." A low, tiny little voice. Damien couldn't help but glance at him. Damien told me Sebastian had a mild form of autism. He was very smart, but he just didn't like interacting with the outside world. Damien had tried so hard to find me, probably for Sebastian's mental health. Looking at Sebastian's silent profile, I felt a wave of guilt wash over me. The room Aurora and I were staying in was already ready. It took some effort to get Aurora to sleep. As I left the children's room, my phone lit up. It was Julian calling. He was my neighbor, a manager at a racing club. A very gentle, considerate guy. I stepped out onto the balcony to take the call. His anxious voice came through. "The kindergarten said someone picked up Aurora. Aren't you in Brighton working right now? Is she with you?" "Yes, she's with me." I vaguely explained that I wasn't in Brighton at the moment. I asked him to look after my bar and promised him a cut of the profits. Julian laughed softly. "After everything that's happened, you're still bringing up money? Are you sure you're okay? You don't need my help?" "I'm fine, and thank you for looking after Aurora all this time." "Don't mention it." He paused for a couple of seconds, then pressed further. "Scarlett, are you coming back to Brighton?" I opened my mouth, but didn't know what to say. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a reflection on the balcony door. Damien was leaning against the doorframe behind me. I had no idea how long he'd been standing there. I quickly said goodbye to Julian and hung up. "What? Was that him calling? Does he know he's the other man?" Damien's cold voice demanded. The smell of alcohol wafted from him. I met his dark eyes. That feeling of being watched by some gloomy, slimy creature was back. Damien was the stepson of the Shen family. Probably because of his miserable childhood, he'd grown into a dark, ruthless man. Anything he set his sights on couldn't escape. "None of your business." "Damien, what's the point of dragging this out? Let's just get a divorce." "I'll pretend none of this happened. Have your lawyer draw up the papers." I tried to brush past him, pretending to be calm. I hadn't taken more than a few steps. A strong force grabbed me. Expressionless, Damien pulled me into the study. Click. The lock engaged. He sat me down on the desk. I struggled a little, and he used his leg to pin mine. The position was way too intimate. It made my whole body stiffen. I felt like Damien was somehow different from before. The old Damien only had eyes for Vivian, and he hated touching me. His handsome, perfect face leaned close to mine. "Scarlett, in your dreams." "I let you go so you can run off and play house with another man?" I glared at him. Just as I was about to retort, he bit down. Damien held the back of my head, refusing to let me pull away. Deep and hard. Was he drunk? He was kissing me. I whimpered and bit his lip hard enough to draw blood. Damien didn't let go. Instead, he grabbed my waist and pulled me towards him. His warm body pressed against mine. My eyes widened. I tried to escape. Damien loosened his tie and wound it around my wrists. He moved slowly, deliberately. His dark eyes watched me struggle, the light in them growing intense. "Scarlett. Cheating on me? Ready to pay the price?" We got so caught up talking. The day got late, as the last sliver of sunset disappeared. My phone rang. Damien must have gotten impatient when I didn't come back. I pressed answer. His icy voice came through. "Where are you?" I took the kids to the amusement park. "Having fun?" "Yeah, of course." "Huh, I can see you smiling pretty wide from here." His voice dropped another degree. I froze. "Scarlett, look outside." I turned my head and saw the familiar Bentley across the street. The back window rolled down. Damien was staring coldly at us. Our eyes met from a distance. My heart clenched. "I don't want to make a scene in front of the kids. You'd better come over here quietly, or I can't promise what might happen." He hung up without another word. Julian saw my expression change and asked what was wrong. I shook my head. "It's getting late. I need to take the kids home." We walked to the entrance to say goodbye. Julian grabbed my arm, worried. "Scarlett, are you in some kind of trouble? If you need anything, just tell me." A pair of cold eyes was boring into me. I quickly pushed his hand away. "Julian, thank you. I'll see you around." I took the kids and left. The car was filled with a heavy, oppressive silence. Damien stared at his laptop, expressionless, like he was trying to burn a hole through it. Aurora tugged my sleeve. "Mommy, I didn't get to say bye to Uncle Julian. When can I see him again?" Before I could think of what to say, snap! The laptop was forcefully shut. Damien gritted his teeth, suppressing his rage, and tried to make his face look gentle. "Aurora, is that the Uncle Julian you mentioned? He's not your daddy, is he?" "Mommy said my daddy died a long time ago." Damien frowned, took a deep breath, held it in some more. He couldn't hold it anymore. He shot me a cold glare. "Scarlett, you've really outdone yourself. How much could you possibly love a man to live like a widow to a dead man?" "Love, no. Fear, maybe." I ignored him, softly soothing Aurora and telling her to focus on her homework when we got home. We arrived at the villa. Damien's face was grim. He pulled me towards the bedroom, saying we needed to talk. The moment we were inside, he pushed me down onto the sofa. I struggled. Damien wedged himself between my legs, pinning me down. His furious voice washed over me. "Tell me the truth. How many other men do you have out there?" "If I tell you, will you let me go?" "Don't even think about it." Damien's eyes burned with a mix of savagery and dark possessiveness. "Then I've got nothing to say." I decided I didn't want him to know that Damien was the kid's father. I could never win a custody battle against him. I'd already lost Sebastian. I couldn't lose Aurora, too. "Who is Aurora's father? How did you meet him? Why did you agree to have his baby? Do you still love him? Do you still think about him even though he's dead?" Damien's rage was overwhelming. Jealousy, long suppressed, had grown thorns deep in his heart. A living man, he could still do something about. But a dead one? How could he compete? I refused to say a word. Furious, he bit my lip like a punishment. The forceful kiss left me breathless. He held the back of my head, refusing to let me pull away. "Scarlett, why do you treat me like this? Why are you all smiles for everyone else, but you can't give me one good look?" His voice was hoarse. He dragged me into the bathroom. His black suit jacket fell to the floor, his hot body pressed against mine. I looked at his fit form, feeling both embarrassed and flustered. "Damien, what are you doing?" "I'm going to prove to you that I'm better than any of them." He kissed my neck, his eyes dark, his hands locked around my waist. Damien tilted my chin up, forcing me to look at myself in the mirror. That night, I'd rather not think about, because Damien kept me hanging the whole time. He wouldn't let me come, wouldn't let me go. He wanted me to tell him the truth, and me not telling him had consequences. I have to admit, he knew what he was doing. He made me change the sheets twice. Total animal. I ignored him the next day, and stayed cold with him for quite a while. At the same time, Damien restricted my freedom. He wouldn't let me leave the house. He arranged for people to pick up and drop off the kids. He took my phone. I felt like I was back in the old days, trapped by him. Every second of it suffocated me. But Damien was busy. There were times he couldn't keep an eye on me. At the end of the month, he had to go to Los Angeles on a business trip. He left in a hurry. I knew really he was going to find Vivian. Things between Vivian and Christian had been rocky lately. They were on the verge of divorce. That was when the villain would have a chance to slip in. Anything involving Vivian, Damien was always the most tense about. Sometimes I envied the heroines in books. So many people loved them. And I was just the evil side character. Even though I hadn't done anything that bad, I'd still had a miserable childhood. In this world, no one truly loved me. A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. Aurora crept in carefully. "Mommy, I'm ready." Tonight I was planning to take the kids and leave the capital. Aurora and I walked to the villa's main gate. It was time for the guards to change shifts. I'd realized the gate had a keypad lock. Damien was so paranoid, he'd really thought of everything. I tried a few passwords, all wrong. Suddenly, I heard footsteps behind me. Sebastian stood there in his pajamas, watching me calmly. I'd secretly asked him before, many times, if he wanted to come with me. But he always shook his head. Only once, he'd said quietly, Daddy would be sad. I'd been stunned. He'd raised Sebastian for 4 years. Of course, he was more attached to him than to me. Now, bathed in moonlight, I looked at Sebastian's little face, thinking he'd come to stop me. He walked forward a few steps and took my pinky finger in his hand. Then he keyed in the passcode and opened the gate. He was helping me, silently. Aurora and I walked out. Sebastian watched us through the gaps in the iron gate. His expression was still calm, like he wasn't affected by anything. But I knew he was feeling something. He just couldn't show it. My heart ached. I hesitated. If I didn't leave today, I might never get another chance. I didn't want Aurora to be locked up in a beautiful cage like this. I hardened my heart and walked away with Aurora. We were almost at the corner. Aurora stopped, her voice choked with tears. Mommy, I don't want to leave brother. He's all alone in that big house. No one talks to him. I looked at her red-rimmed eyes. I didn't want to leave him either. The moonlit path was dark and hazy. I stared at the freedom ahead and sighed. Finally, I decided to go back. I took Aurora back to the house. Sebastian was sitting in the living room, staring into space. In his hands was the fairy tale book I used to read to them. He looked at us in shock, confused. I hugged him and stroked his hair. Sebastian, we're not leaving. Aurora and I couldn't leave you. We want to stay with you. I figured I'd wait until I got closer to Sebastian, then run away with him too. The boy in my arms was frozen. A few seconds later, a tiny voice came. Mommy? My heart jolted. It was the first time he'd ever called me that. Hey baby, Mommy's here. It was late by the time I got the kids to sleep. I was taking a shower in the bathroom. Suddenly, I heard the door slam open, thinking it was one of the kids. I hurriedly wrapped myself in a bathrobe and came out. I came face to face with a disheveled Damien. He stared at me and let out a breath of relief. You didn't leave. When the security system sent him an alert, he'd panicked, wrapped up his business overnight, and flown back by helicopter, terrified he'd be too late. I looked at his rumpled clothes. The thing that caught my eye was the gift box in his hand. What's that? He pressed his lips together. Your birthday is next week. I got you a present. I took it. Inside was an emerald bracelet. I'd seen it in a magazine before. It was supposedly made by a famous artist and had sold for a high price at auction. The gemstone was incredibly bright, glittering even under the dim indoor lights. What woman didn't love something sparkly? When I was little, no one ever remembered my birthday. I could only watch longingly as my cousin received all those pretty gifts. Damien saw I wasn't reacting, and his mouth tightened. If you don't like it, throw it away. I just bought it on a whim. I didn't say I didn't like it. I happily accepted it and put it away carefully. When I turned back, I caught him staring intently at me. I'd just gotten out of the shower. Water droplets still clung to my hair, not yet dried. They dripped down onto my collarbone, disappearing into my bathrobe. I quickly pulled my collar tighter and moved to close the door. You should go. I'm going to sleep. We're married. Of course we sleep together. He grabbed the door and squeezed inside. His tall figure loomed over me, his presence overwhelming. Suddenly, I remembered the male and female lead getting divorced. Did you see Vivian when you were in Los Angeles? Why would I see her? She's getting divorced. Aren't you going to do something about it? What does that have to do with me? Damien frowned. You want me to go to her so you can get close to Christian? That's ridiculous. I don't even like Christian. He snorted. Right. You've got so many men around you. Christian probably wouldn't want you anyway. His sarcastic tone made no sense to me. But since when had Damien changed? I thought he cared about Vivian. You used to protect Vivian all the time. You don't like her anymore? I never liked her. I must have been out of my mind. What was going on? How had the villain gone off script? Before I could figure it out, Damien stepped closer, his eyes dark with desire. It's late. Let's go to sleep. I backed away nervously. Don't you dare. The kids are right next door. If we woke Aurora up, I wasn't going to be the one to calm her down this time. He could do it. Mentioning the kids cooled his gaze a little. Damien took a deep breath. He patted his pockets, probably planning to step onto the balcony for a smoke. Suddenly, his brow furrowed tightly. What's wrong? I asked. My lighter. It's gone. Damien's expression was incredibly tense. He turned and went downstairs, searching everywhere he'd been. Still nothing. Seeing how upset he looked, you'd think he'd lost the company seal or something. "It's just a lighter. Buy a new one." When I said that, he shot me a look. It was so complicated, I couldn't read it. Damien walked out the front door without a word. He searched high and low. Finally, in the back seat of the car, he spotted the old metal lighter. Damien came back holding it like a lost treasure found again. I couldn't help asking, "Is it some limited edition lighter? Why are you so worried about it?" "No." He looked at me steadily. "You gave it to me." I was stunned. "When?" "You don't remember." Damien's eyes dropped, dejected. "Scarlett, you don't remember anything about me." I was about to press him for details, but he refused to say another word, like a sulky child. His kiss came down hard. His fingers burned against my lower back. He grabbed the hem of my skirt. I bit him again. He flinched and let go. "Damien, have you lost your mind? Untie me." "I lost my mind a long time ago. Not like you ever thought I was sane anyway." Damien grabbed my chin. That dark, obsessive possessiveness flashed in his eyes. Ever since I knew he was the villain, I'd been terrified of him. I'd go out of my way to avoid him. Who would willingly mess with a crazy person? But I'd realized running didn't work. He still wouldn't leave me alone. Damien's hot body pressed against me. He kissed my neck and kept going lower. "Damien, you..." I put my hands against his shoulders. How could he do this? My face flushed. My body went stiff and helpless. Damien patted my hip, coaxing me. "Relax. You bastard." I bit my lower lip to keep my voice from changing. He gave a low laugh and wiped the wetness from the corner of his mouth. "Your other mouth is more honest than you are." When had he become so shameless? The light in Damien's eyes turned dark. His long fingers undid his shirt buttons. Just as he was about to continue, suddenly, crying came from the other room. Aurora was having trouble sleeping in a strange place. Damien paused when he heard the sound. I quickly pushed him away. When I got to the children's room, Sebastian was already there with Aurora. He looked at her helplessly, like he didn't know how to calm her down. "Mommy, I'm scared. Let's go home. I want to find Uncle Julian." Aurora reached out for me. I soothed her softly. Damien's face darkened even more at the mention of Julian. Aurora glanced at Damien and cried even harder. I patted her back. "It's okay. Mommy's here. I'll take you home soon. Just try to rest, okay? Be good." It took a long time, but eventually Aurora calmed down. I told her a story. Sebastian watched me quietly from the side, a hint of envy in his eyes. "Do you want to stay and keep your sister company?" I asked him. He nodded. I slept in between the two kids. I told 4 fairy tales before they finally fell asleep. Sebastian held onto the hem of my shirt the whole time and never let go. I looked up. Through the crack in the door, I saw Damien still standing there. He was leaning against the doorframe, a rare softness in his eyes. Damien was determined not to let me go. He treated Aurora wonderfully, like she was his own. Anything other little girls could want or not want, Aurora had. He even enrolled her in an international kindergarten. He had Aurora and Sebastian go to school together. At first, Aurora wasn't happy about it, but the more time she spent with Sebastian, the more she grew to like being around him. Aurora was adorable and made friends easily wherever she went. I just never expected to get a call from the school on her 3rd day. I went in. The homeroom teacher, Nathaniel, told me Aurora had hit someone. I looked at the 2 boys next to him. One chubby, one skinny. They had scratch marks on their faces. Aurora wasn't in much better shape. Her ponytail was pulled askew, and her favorite butterfly hair clip was broken. Aurora looked at me guiltily. "Mommy, they're the ones who called brother a mute first. They said he didn't have a mom to teach him manners. I only hit them because of that." "I did not. Do you have proof? You're just mean and you hit us for no reason." The chubby boy, Caden Wolf, refused to admit it. The skinny one, Micah Thorne, gave him a scared look and then nodded along. Caden's parent was there too, a big, burly man who looked like a personal trainer. Mr. Wolf tried to smooth things over with Mr. Cross, saying it was just kids being kids, and told me to let it go. I gave a cold laugh. Let it go? Easy for you to say when it's not your kid getting hurt. You insulted my son and bullied my daughter. Nobody's leaving here today until you apologize properly. I'd been in business for 3 years. I'd met all kinds. Normally, I'd let things slide, but when it comes to my children, I won't just swallow the insult. I stepped in front of the kids. Sebastian's eyes sparkled as he looked at me. "Apologize? My son got hit. You should be the one apologizing." Mr. Wolf had a loud voice and a mean-looking face. Mr. Cross shuffled nervously beside him, probably afraid of both sides. Then your son must have done something to deserve it. My daughter is usually well-behaved. Some people just ask for trouble. I stared coldly at the chubby little boy. Caden looked guilty and couldn't meet my eyes. Mr. Wolf stepped forward angrily. Who are you calling trouble? Kids get into fights. You keep running your mouth and I'll… Seeing how impulsive he was, I knew exactly what kind of kid Caden must be. Sebastian had been in the same class as him for so long. Who knows how many times he'd been picked on. I was about to argue back. The door suddenly burst open. Damien rushed in, still wearing his Bluetooth headset from a meeting. He looked exhausted. He swept the room with a dark, heavy gaze, then slowly took off his earbuds and his watch. You'll… What? His icy voice cut through the air. Mr. Wolf's bluster deflated by half, but he still grumbled, trying to save face. So, you're the dad, huh? Haven't been teaching your kid right, have you? Look at what she did to my son, and your wife here is so fierce. You got any authority in your own house? You should go home and learn how to be a real man. What happens in my house is none of your business. Damien stared at him flatly. Mr. Wolf saw his mild-mannered appearance and thought he was weak. He kept on with his sarcasm. Hey, I'm trying to help you. Women need to be trained, or they'll walk all over you. Next thing you know, they're cheating on you and you don't even know it. He had no idea he'd just stepped on Damien's biggest trigger. Before he could finish, Damien suddenly grabbed him by the collar and dragged him into the supply closet next door. The muffled thuds of a beating came from inside. I covered Aurora's and Sebastian's ears. When Damien came back out, he was the only one standing. He glanced at Aurora and closed the supply closet door so she wouldn't see anything scary. I looked at the powerful, low-pressure energy radiating from him. I never expected him to just throw hands like that. But then again, it fit Damien's profile. Grew up miserable, born bad, hates the world and everything in it. Mess with him, and you regret it. Damien smoothed the wrinkles on his clothes. He crouched down and stared at the trembling Caden. So, you're the one who called Sebastian a mute? Sir, I didn't mean to. Oh? He calmly helped the little boy straighten his crooked name tag. Be more careful with your words next time, otherwise the next person who can't speak might be you. An open threat, delivered with a face like the Grim Reaper's. Caden was so scared he couldn't make a sound. Tears started streaming down his face. Damien stood up, expressionless, and turned to Mr. Cross. Mr. Cross, who do you think should apologize first? Mr. Cross was a young man, and right now, a cold sweat was beating on his forehead. Before he could answer, Caden was already stuttering out an apology to Sebastian. Aurora, Sebastian, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I won't call you names anymore, I promise. As we walked out of the kindergarten, Aurora looked at Damien, her eyes shining. Mommy, can Damien come to all my parent-teacher conferences from now on? At dinner, I noticed Damien had a cut on his wrist from something sharp. Probably from the fight earlier. He acted like he didn't care. Afraid it might get infected, I grabbed the first aid kit and cleaned and bandaged it for him. Damien looked at his hand, now wrapped up like a sausage, and pressed his lips together. How am I supposed to change my clothes like this? I met his sincere gaze. Well, since he did help Aurora, I figured I could play maid for him for a bit. I went to his closet and grabbed his loungewear. When I reached up to loosen his tie, he had to bend down. Damien just stared at me without a word. It was a lot of pressure. I hurriedly unbuttoned his shirt. His toned body was revealed. His chest was full and muscular, his abs clearly defined and beautifully shaped. When did he get in such good shape? I looked away, feeling a bit uncomfortable. My eyes met his deep ones. That usually calm, dark lake suddenly rippled. Slowly, he leaned closer. His warm breath brushed against me. Just as he was about to make contact, I took a step back and shoved the shirt in his face. There, put it on. After he changed. My heart was racing. I wanted to leave. He grabbed my arm, a teasing glint in his eyes. Not going to help me with my pants. My hand really hurts. I'd seen him take on 10 guys single-handedly, covered in blood, without shedding a single tear. I glared at him. You're hurt, not crippled. Quit pretending. I pushed him away and quickly escaped. After that day, Aurora said she hadn't seen Caden at school anymore. I heard he transferred. Even the homeroom teacher was replaced by a gentle female doctor, Genevieve Pierce. I knew that was Damien's doing. He'd always been vindictive. That evening, I went to pick the kids up from school. The weather was nice, so I thought I'd take them to the amusement park. I hadn't spent nearly enough time with Sebastian. The doctor said his condition was congenital, but more communication could help. We hadn't even made it to the amusement park. I ran into Julian right outside the kindergarten. He was wearing casual clothes, looking just as gentle and gentlemanly as ever. "What are you doing here?" I asked, surprised. "I was really worried about you, so I came to check in." Julian smiled. Aurora immediately ran over and hugged his leg. Julian pinched her cheek. "Hey there, princess. Long time no see. Did you miss me?" "Yes." I knew immediately that Aurora must have used her smartwatch to secretly give him the address here. He'd been helping me look after the bar all this time, and it had been tough on him. I invited Julian to eat at a nearby restaurant and catch up. The two kids finished eating and went to play in the small play area nearby. Julian asked, "Are they both yours?" "Yeah. I have some issues with their father, so we've been apart. We only recently got back in touch." I sighed. Suddenly, Julian took my hand. "Scarlett, if you're willing, I could be their stepdad. I'd try my best to make you all happy." He'd mustered a lot of courage to say that. I was taken aback for a moment, then awkwardly pulled my hand back. I'd never thought of him that way, and I didn't want to start a family with anyone right now. I just wanted to raise my kids on my own and let them grow up carefree. "How's the bar doing?" I changed the subject. A gentle refusal. Julian understood immediately. A flicker of disappointment crossed his eyes. He told me how things were going. The bar was doing well. He was familiar with business since he ran the racing club. I wanted to give him 70% of the profits for the time he'd been managing it. He absolutely refused to take it. Seeing that he was sincere, I let it go. Lately, Damien had been acting strange. Every day, he'd come home from work and lock himself in his study. He wouldn't talk to me either. He just radiated this gloomy, world-weary energy. All because I didn't remember that lighter? But I genuinely had no memory of it. On the weekend, an elegant woman came to the house, Dr. Genevieve Pierce. Long, curly hair and a pleasant fragrance followed her as she walked by. She said hello to me, then went upstairs to the study. The two of them stayed in there for a long time. For a whole month, she came every weekend. Was she Damien's new flame? But he wouldn't bring her to the house, would he? I was staring into space. Sebastian tugged my sleeve and showed me the new Lego he'd built. I smiled and praised him, saying he was so good to have finished it so quickly without looking at the instructions. "Sweetie, do you know that pretty lady who went upstairs?" He nodded. "Is she close with your daddy?" He nodded. My heart sank a little. Even Sebastian, who kept to himself, thought so. It seemed their relationship was indeed something special. For some reason, I felt a little stifled. Sebastian looked at my expression and suddenly spoke, a bit hesitant. "She's a mind doctor. Daddy's." I was stunned. The villain actually saw a therapist? Damien's character was becoming harder for me to understand. Would this affect the story? Late at night, I snuck into the study. I wanted to see what exactly was wrong with Damien. The desk was covered in company documents. I turned on my phone's flashlight. I searched for a long time. In the bottom drawer, I found a medical file. I caught a few lines of text. Split personality, hearing voices. Before I could read more, the light suddenly flipped on. I turned around. Damien stood there staring at me, expressionless. My heart skipped a beat. "You scared me to death." Damien glanced at what I was holding and snatched it away. "You saw everything? Why are you sick? What's wrong with you?" Damien sighed, like he really didn't want to rip open this old wound. "I don't know. I always feel like I'm not in control. Ever since Vivian transferred to our school, there's been a voice in my head telling me to get close to her, to like her. I didn't pay much attention at first, but then the voice got worse and worse. It told me to lock Vivian up, to hurt Christian. I didn't want to do any of it. I knew something was wrong with me, so I started seeing Genevieve regularly. Then, after Vivian got married, I got a lot better." I looked at the helplessness in his eyes. Only I knew that the plot of the book was controlling him, and he'd actually resisted it? "Scarlett, don't be scared. The doctor says there's no cure, only management. I'll try to control it, so don't hate me." "I don't. But you really don't like Vivian? Then who do you like?" The villain's whole story arc revolved around the heroine. If he deviated from the plot, I felt like he wasn't far from waking up himself. Damien's gaze deepened. He stepped towards me, slowly backing me into a corner. "Who do I like? You really don't know? Haven't I made it obvious enough?" That thick, sticky possessiveness was back in his eyes. My heart started racing. I stepped back a few times, and he cornered me by the bookshelf. "Scarlett, Ever since I found out I was sick, I've been updating my will every month. You're the beneficiary of everything I own. These 4 years you've been gone, I've thought about you every single day. I searched for you nonstop. I bought you presents every year. The storage room is full of them. So now, who do you think I like? I looked into his eyes, momentarily speechless. Damien's long eyelashes lowered. I know I did a lot of things you hated in the past. I didn't want you always staring at Christian, so I locked you at home. I didn't want anyone near you. If I try to learn how to be normal from now on, can you come a little closer? I'm not asking you to like me, just stop hating me. That's enough. When he asked that, his voice was cautious, nervous, hoarse, like he was about to cry. All of Damien's mad, possessive behavior, his incomprehensible obsessions, they all came from this small, hidden feeling inside him. My heart felt like a deer was bouncing around in it, beating faster and faster. The love in his eyes was too intense. I felt like I was drowning. No wonder the villain had gotten tangled up with me. No wonder he'd gone against everyone to marry me. No wonder he was always wherever I was. Damien had taken all the things he was supposed to do for the heroine and done them to me instead. Even if his love was twisted, it still made my heart flutter, because no one had ever cared about me like this before. A few seconds later, the anticipation in Damien's eyes as he looked at me turned gloomy. Forget it. Whatever you say, I'm not letting you go anyway. He looked dejected, like a stray dog stubbornly clinging to its only toy. Suddenly, I reached up and hugged him. I don't hate you anymore, Damien. If I truly hated him, I would have aborted the baby from the start. His whole body went stiff. Say that again. I think I might actually like you a little. Before I could finish, Damien kissed me, fierce and urgent. Really? You're not lying? Really? The light in his eyes grew intense, passionate. He pressed his body against mine. He sat me down on the desk and firmly pinned my legs with his. Scarlet, Scarlet, he murmured. Like a wild beast, ready to strike. He devoured me piece by piece. That night he talked a lot and went on for a long time. My mind was hazy. I heard him say we'd met as children, but I didn't remember any of it. As we spent more time together, Sebastian started talking more. He could now express what he was thinking, but I still couldn't let go of my bar. I always wanted to go back. Damien simply waved his hand and opened a brand new location for me in the best part of the capital. So I closed my old bar and took Julian out to a nice dinner. Julian noticed the ring on my finger, his eyes downcast. That giant diamond was something Damien had forced me to wear. I knew it had a tracker inside. Damien's love was too cautious. He couldn't tolerate any uncertainty. I brought over all the good-looking staff from my Brighton bar. One of them was that young man I'd tried to pick up before, Elliot Vance. He'd quit his job and wanted to work here. Soon, my new bar in the capital was thriving. I ran a few promotions to attract new customers. When I got home too late, Damien came to pick me up, bringing my favorite mango cake. When the Bentley stopped outside the bar, I was chatting with Elliot. He was now the most popular waiter there. So many rich, older women loved him. Afraid he'd run off, I made him empty promises, saying I'd give him a bonus if he kept up the good work. Elliot looked down shyly and smiled. Suddenly, a blaring honk. Damien was staring at us, his face dark. I got in the car. As I ate my little cake, he glared at my employees. Dressed like that, I wonder who they're trying to seduce. I weakly explained. That's our uniform. White shirts or butler outfits. The fabric was a little see-through, but that's exactly what the wealthy women liked. Damien's face looked so grim, it could drip water. But I just loved counting money, especially money I'd earned myself. It felt so satisfying. On the way home, he asked a strange question. Scarlet, is there anything you're hiding from me? I nearly choked on my cake. Had he found something? I carefully tested the waters. You mean the fact that I secretly hired male models? You hired male models? His face crumbled. Well, the bar had no business otherwise. They dance on stage, and that brings in customers. He gritted his teeth and held it in. Anything else? Nope. He gave a cold snort. When we got home, Damien threw a document at me. It was a paternity test between Aurora and him. I had this done when Aurora had her checkup. If I hadn't found out myself, how long were you planning to keep this from me? He walked towards me, his face dark. My heart fluttered. I stepped back a few paces. My back hit the table. Oh, crap. Karma's a bitch. I was going to tell you, I just forgot. I gave an awkward smile. Damien wasn't buying it. He grabbed my waist, his eyes dangerously dark. You forgot? But you didn't forget to tell Aurora her father was dead, did you? I looked down guiltily. He clearly knew now that the other man out there had been himself all along. Damien hooked his finger under the zipper at the back of my skirt and gave a cold, cruel smile. Tonight, I'll show you whether I'm dead or not. The next second, he swept me off my feet. Damien pinned me in front of the bathroom sink. His fierce kiss left no room for me to breathe. My skirt was shredded in his hands. His fingers were just as wicked as ever. Don't! I grabbed his wrist. The kids? Relax, the nanny got them to sleep. His hoarse voice brushed against my ear. Pay attention, wife. My name is Damien Blackthorne. I grew up being called Bastard. No one cared about me. My mother only cared about pleasing that old man in the Blackthorne family. One time, at a banquet, the place was full of fancy decorations, but the people there didn't want me around. I got locked in a supply closet. I was so hungry. I climbed out and fell. Limping, I tried to sneak into the kitchen to steal some food. I ran into a girl with a ponytail. She saw how ragged I looked and got a Band-Aid for my scraped knee. She asked what I was doing. I told her it was my birthday and I just wanted one full meal, so that when I looked back, my memories wouldn't be nothing but beatings and yelling. She went and got a chocolate pie. She put a candle in it. She lit it with a lighter and told me to make a wish. No one had ever sung me happy birthday before. I looked into her pretty eyes, and I didn't want to blow out the candle. Suddenly, a voice called from far away. Some woman was impatiently yelling, "Scarlet!" The girl jumped up, scared. She shoved the lighter into my hand. I don't have anything else to give you, but happy birthday. I hope your wish comes true. I watched her skirt flutter as she ran off, like a little white butterfly. My wish was to see her again tomorrow. I've never been lucky. So my wish didn't come true until high school. I saw her at the freshman orientation ceremony. I started watching her from afar, walking her home after school. She didn't seem to remember me. Her eyes were always fixed on some guy named Christian. Lots of girls liked him. Jealousy grew like a weed inside me. In my sophomore year, a transfer student arrived. Her name was Vivian. She was pretty, kind-hearted, and nice to everyone. A voice in my head kept telling me to like her. But I wasn't interested in Vivian. Every time I got close to Scarlett, I'd say something awful without meaning to. She became scared of me. I couldn't control my own mouth anymore. When I grew up, I found a way to marry her. She was still always paying attention to Christian and Vivian. Whenever Christian was doing well, she'd smile happily. The jealousy inside me started to stir. I felt like I was going crazy. Those dark, terrible thoughts finally surfaced. I locked her up, cut her off from the outside world. Then Vivian got married. My head cleared up a lot. I remember it very clearly. The day Scarlett gave birth, I got into a car accident on the way. I showed up at the hospital covered in blood. Scarlett had run away. She left me with the child. She hated me so much. She wouldn't even take our baby. I felt so empty inside. It took me 4 years, but I finally found my runaway butterfly. She was laughing happily with another man. I brought her back. I wanted her to belong to only me. Every day I'd tell my son, we have to find a way to make mommy stay. If she and her sister are out there alone, they won't be okay, and daddy will be very sad. I don't know if he listened. He just stared at that Rubik's Cube in his hands. Later, Scarlett found out about my illness. I thought she'd be disgusted, but she wasn't. Just like all those years ago, when she didn't care that I was a mess and celebrated my birthday with me. She was the only little son I'd ever had. This time, no matter what, I'm never letting her go again.